Winners and losers of the 2024 NFL trade deadline. The 2024 NFL trade deadline brought many deals, but not the blockbuster moves many expected. A few teams significantly improved as rosters were adjusted, while others missed opportunities. Let's look at who won and lost at the trade deadline. Winners. Liberated wide receivers. Several top-tier wide receivers found themselves in better situations. Davante Adams, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, and Mike Williams were all moved, escaping less than ideal circumstances. Among them, Hopkins' impact has been the most immediate. His 2 TD performance for the Kansas City Chiefs shows his potential to make a big difference this season. Andy Reid and the Chiefs. The defending champions make key moves to bolster their roster, adding Hopkins and linebacker Joshua Uche. Despite some injuries and offensive struggles, Kansas City remains undefeated at 8-0. Reid and GM Brett Veach proved that they're committed to a third consecutive Super Bowl title by adding key pieces that could take them over the top. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking stronger after acquiring 6 feet 4 inches wide receiver Mike Williams. His size and skills could complement George Pickens excellently, offering Wilson a much-needed weapon in the passing game. Joe Douglas and the Jets. Jets GM Joe Douglas showed savvy by trading Williams to the Steelers for a 5th-round pick. Williams is on an expiring deal, but getting a 5th-rounder for him, especially after the Chiefs acquired Hopkins for a similar price, seems like a win for Douglas. Adam Peters and the Commanders. Washington's GM made a bold move by trading for Pro Bowl cornerback Marshawn Lattimore from the New Orleans Saints. This forward-thinking trade bolsters a growing young team, ready to contend with the best in the NFC. Zadarius Smith. The 3-time Pro Bowler moves from the Cleveland Browns to the Detroit Lions. This is a big win for the Lions, who have struggled with pass rush since the injury to Aiden Hutchinson. Smith's experience and pass rushing ability could be the missing piece for Detroit as they push for a top playoff spot. Minnesota Vikings. Despite an unexpected 5-0 start, the Vikings weren't standing pat. They traded for offensive tackle Cam Robinson to fill in for the injured Christian Darrisaw, showing they still have playoff aspirations, even without Kirk Cousins. Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals made a smart move by acquiring backup running back Khalil Herbert. He could provide a much-needed spark for a struggling Cincinnati offense this season. Losers. Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens made a few moves, but how much they'll impact the team is unclear. The acquisition of cornerback Tre'Davious White and wide receiver Johnson hasn't yielded significant results. Baltimore's biggest issue remains its pass rush, and surprisingly, GM Eric DeCosta didn't target help there. Dan Morgan and the Panthers. Carolina's GM decided to trade Jonathan Mingo for minimal return. It's a puzzling move for a team needing future assets, especially when Mingo could have been a trade chip with more value in a different market. Houston Texans. After a hot start, the Texans missed a chance to add an impactful player, especially after W.R. Stephon Diggs' injury. GM Nick Caserio didn't address their need for a playmaker, leaving the Texans vulnerable in the AFC race. New York Giants. The Giants made a baffling decision to hold onto OLB Azeez Ojulari and W.R. Darius Slayton, both of whom are on expiring contracts. With their season all but over, the Giants should have looked to trade these assets for long-term value. Seattle Seahawks. Despite making a few trades for defensive help, the Seahawks have been falling apart since their 3-0 start. The defense remains a significant problem, and their midseason moves haven't addressed it enough to turn things around. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. The Cowboys made minimal moves, trading for Jonathan Mingo, an unproven player, while their franchise quarterback Dak Prescott is sidelined with a hamstring injury. The lack of action at the deadline concerns a team claiming to be all in, for the 2024 season. As teams adjust their rosters and prepare for the stretch run, the trade deadline has undoubtedly shaped the course of the season, for better or worse. Some teams made bold moves, while others may live to regret their inaction. With the playoffs approaching, these decisions will impact the remainder of the 2024 season.